Hey guys, welcome to Jake's Garage. So you would have seen the intro video to this guy. This is our 68 Mustang, standard Mustang. It's got a 289. It's got the automatic trans. And for all intents and purposes, it's a great car. The top needs to be replaced. The interior is mint. The exterior will basically buff out. If I want it to, I can buff it out pretty good. There's a couple little nicks and scratches. It's a real honest survivor car. Very low miles, never been restored, just all original everything.
Hey all. While I'm babbling in this video, I just wanted to drop a quick note to discuss how this video actually turned out. My intention was to show the install of a disc brake kit on the front of this car, but the project ended up taking longer than I thought it would, and other things popped up in life. So while I did finish the kit, you never actually get to see a payoff. Later on in future videos, I might show the results and kind of give my impressions on how the kit actually worked. But for now, you can watch what I have here. I'm basically just trying to clean up some old footage. So enjoy. If you have any questions about the kit, let me know. But I can kind of do a spoiler here and let you know that the kit did turn out great and does work great. So let me know if you have any questions.
I was able to just basically wire wheel some loose stuff off, and then I pour 15 the crap out of the inside. And then on the outside where the rock chips have kind of gotten a little rusty, I just protected them, buffed them out. And this car's going to live its life in a garage. So what we're doing today, this car has 4-wheel manual drum brakes. If there's anybody out there that's driven a 4-wheel manual drum brake car, it's different. Yes, it stops. Yes, I could man up and just learn to push the pedal extra harder, but the problem is my wife's driving this car a lot. This is kind of going to be her cruiser. It's not really my style, although it's a very nice car. I need to make it a little easier for her to drive, so we're going to do something about it. She just can't deal with the manual drums. So as you can see, I have it up on jack stands, and I'll go over the kit that I got. I went with the CSRP disc brake, power disc brake upgrade kit. It's the I think the 1.4, swap 1.4 PBU. This fits the automatic or manual transmission. Obviously I got the automatic because they give you a pedal. So there's a real nice pedal with the disc brake medallion on there. That's pretty nice. Comes with the master cylinder, dual reservoir, dual chamber. I forget exactly what the terminology is, but front and back have their own fluid. Got the booster. It's got adapter brackets, adjustable proportioning valve, all the bushing, all the bearings, all the hardware, all the hoses, brake caliper, brake pads, brake rotors, and these are the Kelsey Hayes 4-piston calipers too, by the way. Suckers look beefy. Hoses. There's several stainless braided hoses, some hard lines, dust shields, and rotors. So it is a very, very complete kit. And so we're going to be installing that on the Mustang. There are a couple things that I think I need to add to this kit. I think, well, obviously brake fluid is one. 2 is I might need to get a power brake switch. I have to see once I get in there. I'm not exactly sure what the difference is, but we're going to find out. And there might be an adapter I need to get for one of these fittings. I'm wondering if they started giving it out. I read in some reviews somebody said you had to add the fitting, but that could be it right there. So right now we're in the teardown phase. Now I'm going to try something a little different with this project. So far, all I've done was tell you, hey, this is the car we're working on, and here's the project I'm doing. I'm really not going to film a whole lot else, like continual filming. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the drums and all the brake hardware, and I'm going to do that in the front only right now. And that's probably all further I'm going to get today, but the video will kind of continue probably on the next day. But what I'm going to try to do is just turn the camera on when I want to show you something. Should limit my editing time, limit my opportunity to babble. I know you guys don't like that, even though I've been doing it for 5 minutes now. And it should give more content specific to the project. So without further ado, I'm going to tear into this thing. The other projects I am working on, I am going to take the rear brakes apart. I had them off and they look fantastic. I don't know if somebody's been in there or if it's just in that good a shape, but all I really want to do is change the wheel cylinders back there. I'm going to do that because I know for a fact it's been sitting for some years, so the fluid that's in the wheel center is probably nasty, and I want to flush the lines. The lines from the front to the very back, I want to flush it out. So I figure I'll take the wheel cylinders off, flush the line, I'll throw new wheel cylinders on there, and then this thing's going to be good to go front to back with brakes. So I'm going to show, basically I'm just going to start tearing it apart. Y'all can find many videos online on how to tear apart a first gen Mustang brake system. I'm going to try to get it down to the wheel cylinders up front. I'm not going to disconnect them. I'm going to try to like get them out, zip tie them, so I can get all the other hardware off, and then deal with the fluid later. I don't want to have it sitting for like more than a day, just dripping fluid all over the place. So I have to figure out how I'm going to handle that since I'm emptying the system completely. But all right, I'm going to get to work, and I'll cut the video back on when I got something to show you. But I should have everything disassembled as far as I can get it today, and maybe start taking a look at what I got to do inside the car. But really, what I want to do is get the hardware installed out here, and then I'm going to do under the dash and the firewall at the same time, and see how this goes. So here we go. We'll see what happens. I should have taken a before video. I'm 6'4", 220. I got pretty good legs. This thing takes a lot of leg to stop. I'm not entirely convinced that the master cylinder doesn't need a rebuild, but go online and try to look up a 68 manual 4-wheel drum master cylinder rebuild kit, and let me know if you can find one, because I couldn't. I looked everywhere. I figured maybe I'll do the $20 rebuild kit, throw new seals in it, see if I can get it working a little bit better, but I couldn't find it. This thing takes all of my leg to stop. Forget about locking the brakes up. Forget about panic stops. It's just, it doesn't want to stop. So this should be a nice, vast improvement over what's going on here. There we go. Okay, this is how far I got. It took a while. The couple things that gave me trouble, actually. Obviously, the drum came off, no problem. Where I ran into trouble was getting the wheel cylinder off. The wheel cylinder, the way that the brake hose, the front brake hose, goes into the wheel cylinder, it goes in like this, at this funky angle, right up against the spindle. And it's really hard to get a wrench on there. I just couldn't get it. So I ended up unbolting the wheel cylinder and pulling it out, and then trying to hold it with channel locks while getting the line off. That didn't work. So I put it back in with one bolt, the forward bolt, got the bolt that's closest to the hose out of the way, and I was able to sneak my 5/8 wrench on there and just give it the lightest pop with the hammer and broke it loose. And then I got it all out. So that was really the only problem. Here's all the parts. I mean, you can see that it's not junk. I did manage to get the brake line nut loose going to the brake hose. That was a win, because I was having trouble with that too, and I started to round it off, and then I stopped and I took some other measures and got it broken loose. So that'll go back together into the new hose is fine, and there's a little bit of surface rust on that line, but I didn't think it needed to be replaced, so I didn't want to break it. The kit says basically, you know, break it if you have to, I think. So yeah, so that's it for disassembly on this side. I got a little bit of what sounds like play in that upper ball joint, so I'm actually going to see what it takes. It's a bolt-in ball joint, so it shouldn't be a big deal, but I'm going to just verify that there's no big deal there. I'll probably replace the ball joint while it's apart, because why wouldn't I? And then I'm going to move to the other side. So once I get to this point, that's it. Everything else just bolts on. It's all bolts-on stuff. So I won't show you the other side, but I will show you some of the installation as I go through it. And if I change the ball joint, maybe I'll show that too. But I now have both sides apart, completely stripped apart, and some cool stuff is I was able to get the hard lines off there without breaking the nut, breaking the line, twisting anything. It came right out. I'm just doing some mock-up right now. So I have the booster bracket and the booster and the master cylinder in place. And I also have the pedal installed. You have to loosen a bunch of stuff to get the pedal in. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's in there. You have to loosen well, I had to loosen some of the nuts on the steering column to get that bracket to move down enough to get the bolt through. Once I got it through, it was fine. So I was just kind of mocking things up, see how things go. One thing I kind of think I figured out is all these lines, these connect to the stock distribution block, like you can see in this picture. This guy here snakes around, and your factory rear brake line that goes to the back of the car, you pull it out of the distribution block and it goes into here, and then this end goes to the output of the adjustable proportioning valve. The other one here goes to the inlet of the proportioning valve and goes to the outlet of the distribution block. And then these two nice braided guys, they go from your master cylinder front and rear ports to the front and rear inputs of your block. I think you have to get all of these in and tighten them on the block before you put the booster and stuff in. I just can't see how I'm going to get down in there to get these lines lined up and then tightened. Because I mean, there's one under here. I don't know. So I think what I'm going to do is try to get them in place, or at least threaded into place. If I just have to put a couple turns on the nut, then that'd be fine, but I might do a little of that ahead of time. So other than that, it's going great. I'm going to finish mocking things up, finish putting stuff together, and we'll see what happens. I'll pretty much be ready to fill the system and bleed it here soon, so that should be the second half of this. I'm just going to turn the camera off and fiddle around some more with it. Okay, so I got a little bit of progress here. I have pretty much done everything I need to do in order to just assemble now. I'm pretty much at the assembly stage as far as the knuckle area goes. Got a little bit more work to do with the brake master cylinder and line situation, but for now, I'm going to just try to assemble the rotors, the calipers, get the caliper lines hooked up, and generally get it so that when I put fluid in, it can just gravity bleed down into the calipers. So I already have this on here, and I did a mock-up on this just because I wanted to see how everything went together, make sure I had all the parts, etc. So I took most of it back off, but I left the bracket, the dust shield on. The reason why is this hardware has the prevailing torque nuts, and they say you can reuse them, but just for my own sanity, I'm not gonna take them back off just to show you how they go together. So the way this kit works is that once you have a bare knuckle, they give you new hardware, and these are a nut and bolt design, and the order goes bolt, dust shield, caliper bracket, knuckle, and then nut. So that's the order that it goes in. Everything fits real nice. All I'm going to do is, I'm pretty sure I torqued these already, but since I can't get to them after the wheel and stuff and the rotor's on, I'm going to go ahead and double check them. The hardware is 9/16 hardware, so you'll need 9/16 tools for this. And I'm pretty sure they're torqued. Yeah. Yeah, I can't move them, so. Yep. They're tight. I'm not going to do the last one. So, okay, we got that tight. The next step is to prep your rotors. Now, I already did that off camera. I packed the bearings because packing bearings while using a camera is just not going to happen. And I put the wheel seal on. I already did the other sides. This is just the other side. So I'm going to lift this into place now, get it on there. You guys have all seen this before. It's just like doing any other disc brakes from forever. There's an inner outer bearing and a nut and yada yada. So, one thing I need to do before I do that is put a little bit of grease where the seal is gonna ride. Just kind of helps keep it from getting messed up. You don't need a ton here. It's just enough for the bearing to not be unhappy. And then I always just coat the whole spindle with a thin layer. Just, again, helps everything slide together. There's plenty of grease inside this hub and these bearings, so I'm not worried about not having enough grease, but it just helps. So when you go on, you got to try to be careful not to destroy the seal on the threads, and just give it a little wobble and spin, and you should be able to feel it go on there. Find it hard to believe that it went that easy, but I think it did. Okay. So that's on. All I need to do now, I'm going to put a little bit more grease right in this front cone because I didn't get a lot of grease all the way up front when I did the other side. Now the bearing is also packed with grease, and there's also grease inside there, so there's plenty of grease in this thing. I just like to throw a little bit more in there. Here's the outer bearing. That's gonna go in here, sit nice. And now I'm done being greasy. Here it comes with the, all this stuff comes with the kit too, which is awesome. I didn't have to find any pieces or reuse anything. It's great. So far, the only thing I'm reusing for the front brake components is the lines from the block to the actual calipers. These lines right here, and the brackets. The kit came with new brackets. I just didn't need them. The old ones are perfect, so why mess with it? Other than that, everything's replaced. It's great. Okay. So the instructions give you a way to torque this down. They give you like a little sequence. I'm going to do it that way for now, but I'm still going to tell you how I'm going to adjust them. It's 17 to 25 foot-pounds. This is not how I do. This is not how I do this, but we're going to follow the directions, and then I'm going to fix it later. But so that's 17 to 25 foot-pounds while spinning the rotor. This is the load the bearings. Okay, that's 25. It's pretty tight. It's way tighter than I would have it normally. So back it off, and then the next torque is 10 to 15. We're going to do to 15. There's 15, and then technically you're done. I don't like to do it without the wheel on, and I'll tell you why. Is there's not enough mass here to get some momentum going. Usually what I do is I have the wheel on and I give the wheel a little spin, and it kind of, once you do enough of these, you'll know what I'm talking about. You guys have done them before, but you get like maybe a rotation. When you spin it real hard, you get maybe a one rotation out of it, and then you can tighten this down. You can tighten this down through the hub of the wheel if you don't put the cap on. So I'm going to leave the cap off and basically do my normal process with this after I get the wheels on. It'll kind of be one of the very last things I do, and then I'll put the castle nut and the castle nut washer, cotter pin, and the dust cap on, and then we'll be done. Up next, I'm going to throw the calipers on and get the hose hooked up, and then we'll be done. So I'll show you that when I get to that point. Okay, now that the rotor is installed, and as I mentioned, we'll be redoing that wheel nut. We can go ahead and put the caliper on. The cool thing about these brakes, the 4-piston brakes, is you don't have to take the caliper off to change the pads. You do have to take the caliper off to change the rotor, but you got to pretty much do that on any car anyway. but the nice thing is I'm pretty sure I can get away with at least one pad change before the rotors are shot. So anyways, here's the caliper, nice 4-piston. It slides on. My flashlight's charging right now, so I apologize for the lack of light. And I'm gonna have to use a bolt to hold it in. The bolt should get red Loctite per the instructions and per every caliper bolt, well, stationary caliper bolt that I put on. Obviously, when you have a floating caliper, I don't think you really need red Loctite. I use blue sometimes, but so this slaps on. Being careful not to pinch your rubber seals, and then start the bolt. Now would be a good time to double check that you have the right side caliper on the right side of the car. Bleeder screws always facing up. And get them tightened down. They should go in pretty much by hand, pretty easy. Might have to wiggle the caliper a little bit. These get torqued to 65 foot-pounds according to the instructions. One. Where'd the other one go? There's two. Next step is to fit the crossover tube. We'll go grab that. Supposedly these only go on one way. So far I found that to be true. I believe it's this way. You're supposed to fit the inboard fitting first. Not sure why, but I'm at least going to get it hand tight or hands snug. And then you'll find that the tube doesn't quite, like, it doesn't fall right into place. So you just have to gently bend it a little bit. It's pretty malleable, so you'll be able to bend it. You want your tube, the flare fitting, to go right down on the flare, and when you go to screw the nut in, you shouldn't have to like force it. It should just thread in by hand. If it's not thread in by hand, something's not lined up right. And if you don't have the double flare kind of lined up in a nice way, you could potentially have leaks. So just fiddle with it a little bit until it feels like it's going to go in, thread it in by hand. If you can turn it by hand, you know, there's a good chance you're not cross-threaded or anything like that. So this one's fighting me a little bit, probably because I'm not lined up. There we go. See, just a little tweak of the tube, and now it threads right in. There is supposedly a way you tighten these. You basically seat them. Helps if you have the right size wrench. Still don't have the right size wrench. Are these not 316? Okay. So you gotta get them snugged up. I've always just tightened them down as much as possible, but I think you're supposed to tighten them until the tube makes contact with the seat, and then you're supposed to go like 35 degrees or 30 or 35 degrees. I'm just going to snug these up, and basically what I'm going to do is, as I'm bleeding them, if I see brake fluid seeping out of them, I'll give them a little snug, just to tighten them up some more. You don't want to go crazy though, because these are brass fittings, and you'll strip them out, or I don't know if they're brass really, but they'll strip. And the other thing is you can actually damage that double flare seat. Tighter is not necessarily better in this case. So yeah, that's kind of what you're looking at. Again, I apologize for the lighting. Rotor, you should check to make sure the rotor still spins. It's not hitting the caliper. It's not hitting the crossover tube. And then the next step is going to be to install the brake hose. Again, I'm loosely following the instructions. I don't, they have kind of like an order, but I don't necessarily know that it's that important to follow the order to a T. You know, somebody had to put them in some kind of order. But I think as long as you are smart about it. I did find that loosening this hold down here on the side, it's a 3/8 bolt. I did find that removing this will give you some movement in the line, which helps you get that threaded without forcing it or bending it or doing anything otherwise harmful to it. And you gotta be careful, that one's not hooked to anything, so it'll fall right out of there. So what I'm gonna do is go get the hose, hook it up, and you don't need to see that. I'm just gonna screw it in, the caliper, screw it in up there, and then I'll show you loading the pads, and then I'm pretty much done with this part of the video and this part of the project. I need to do the lines up top next, so when I kick it back on, I'll show you how to put the pads in, and then we'll be good to go. So there's the brake line. It's, again, really hard to see, and I apologize, but you can take my word for it. It's all clipped in, ready to go. And then let's take a look at loading these pads up in the end of this caliper. So the pads are, well, they're really simple looking. They're just rectangles, kind of. I mean, they have a curve to them, but the backside is pretty much a rectangle. But the neat thing is they just slide like pieces of toast right in there. It's so cool. I don't know why I like that so much, but it's just neat. The pads are held in with a retaining clip that came with both lock washers, and they tell you to use Loctite, so I'm using some blue Loctite along with the lock washers. But you basically have this metal stainless clip that, if I can act right, bolts directly to the back of the caliper, and it has like kind of spring-loaded feet, and that's the anti-rattle portion of the retaining clip. Keeps the pads firmly in place and prevents any rattling and things like that. You can actually see when I go to press it in, these things will kind of extend out. So you just press it in there, get them started by hand, and then tighten them up. And that's it. So the brake job on this car, if I ever have to just change pads, is just pull off the wheel, remove these two bolts, slide the pads out, slide new pads in. Assuming that it's not all gummed up and nasty, it's probably going to be one of the easier brake jobs ever. Although, now that I'm saying that, I actually don't know how you push the pistons in on one of these. Maybe this is an awful brake job. I don't know. There might be something that some tool to get in there and you know, squeeze them out. I'll have to look into that. 4-piston caliper brake tool. If you know of the tool to do that, let me know without taking the caliper off. But maybe I'm stuck with that. So there we are. Everything spins nice. I'm now done with this portion of the job. I'm not even sure how much of that's going to make it to video, but there's the caliper. It's all ready to go. Both sides look like this. And the rear brakes are rebuilt as well. I put new wheel cylinders, all new hardware, all new adjusting parts. The only thing I kept was the parking brake bar. It was in really good shape. I wire wheeled it. The spring wasn't rusty at all. It's kind of weird. So yeah, all I have to do now is work on the inside of the car. I rebuilt the distribution block with new seals and got that working a little bit better. The shuttle valve was jammed in there nasty. So yeah, I got to get some light in here and figure out exactly how I'm gonna pull this miracle off, working down in this confined space. But yep, here goes nothing. I'm probably not going to show a whole lot of that. What I'll do is I'll just cut the video back on and do an update video, maybe once I'm done in there. I don't know. And after that, we're going to gravity bleed for about half a day. Just keep dumping fluid in, let it gravity bleed, and go from there. Then pump bleed. So here we go. Hope that helps somebody out seeing that done. But it's you know, wasn't the best video, but came out pretty. The brake job itself came out pretty good. So thanks for watching.